Good evening. Welcome back to Story Time with Mrs. Mullins. Hope you guys are enjoying the wonderful weather where you live. Our family has been out in the yard today getting everything cleaned up and cleaned up right before it rains again, which that's what happens in the spring. So just a friendly reminder, be careful of wasps and bees. Apparently I'm allergic to wasps. I got stung the other day and my arm swelled up really bad. So just be careful. I didn't know that I was allergic to wasps. So our next story is called Caravan to Canaan. This is story number 2 and part 4. When Abram became an adult, he still wanted more than anything else in the world to follow God. One day, Father Terah told his family that they were going to move from the city of Ur. He probably made this decision at the urging of Abram, who wanted to leave this center of moon worship. It seems that God had told Abram that all nations would be blessed through him. You can imagine the excitement in Ur when the news leaked out that Abram was planning to leave. No doubt, the neighbors came around to ask why Terah's property was up for sale and learned that the old father was going along too. When Abram told them he didn't know where he was going, they probably thought he was crazy. Why would anyone in his right mind want to leave a fine, thriving town like Ur to go to a place he knew nothing about? But Abram knew what he was doing. The God he had loved since boyhood had spoken to him, and that was enough. Perhaps he wondered just what God meant by those words. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Would you guys have the courage to unpack or upend your lives if God said, I need you to move somewhere else? Would you be willing, if you got that word from God, to uproot your lives and just follow God? I know that personally I would. Our family has had the opportunity to move before, and when we moved, I realized you can make friends where you go. You can be a witness no matter where you're at, and the family that you have with you is the most important circle that you should hold dear. So to continue with the story, the only families he knew were those around his home and a few others a short distance from Ur. He had no idea of the plans that God had for him to be the head of a long line of godly people. He couldn't have known that through his line, Jesus would come at last to fulfill the promise made to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Although Adam could not see what God saw, he was willing to trust him and to follow wherever he might lead. And that is a good example for all boys and girls today. When God says, get up and go, we should obey him. God plans only for our good. We can be sure that at the end of the journey, he will have a rich blessing waiting for us. At last, everything was ready. All the household goods had been wrapped up in bundles and tied onto the backs of animals. Abram had taken a final look around to see that nothing valuable was left behind. The servants guarding the flocks and herds were all ready for the word to move. In those far-off days, people did not travel by car or train or plane. Everyone walked or rode on donkeys or camels. When cattle and sheep went with them, everyone had to walk as slowly as the youngest calf or lamb. They couldn't hurry as we do now. No one could step on the gas and speed things up. They had to travel slowly, covering only a few miles a day. Picture the caravan as it was lined up for the journey. First, perhaps, were a few goats, followed by a flock of sheep and a herd of cattle. Nearby, hired men looked after them, and dogs kept them from straying. These servants had their wives, children, and all their possessions with them, because when the head of a family moved, all his helpers went along too. Then came Abram and his wife Sarai and old father Terah, all probably riding on donkeys or camels, and followed by more animals and servants. Somewhere in the procession was Lot, Abram's nephew, who seems to have become part of his uncle's family after his father died. He owned cattle too, and had servants to look after them, which made the caravan even longer. Probably Father Terah, still head of the household, though he was coming along because of Abram's urging, gave the word to start out. As his word of command passed down the long line of waiting people and animals, the servants sprang into action. Dogs barked, kneeling camels loaded with heavy burdens rose to their feet and loped forward. Cattle surged ahead, glad to be on the move again. The younger children toddled along, holding their mother's hands, and the bigger boys and girls romped around, enjoying the excitement. At last they came to a place called Haran. Perhaps some of his relatives lived there. Anyway, Abram decided to stop a while and give everybody a rest. Many things had to be done for such a large company. Also, old Father Terah wasn't feeling good, so they camped at Haran for a long time. All this because one man had heard God's voice and decided to obey him. Yes, Abram was on his way to a great destiny. Dimly, far in the distant future, he had caught a glimpse of a beautiful city whose architect and builder is God. He was exchanging Little Ur for the New Jerusalem. And that ends the story for tonight. That's something good to think about. Our family had the opportunity to move, and we did. It wasn't a word from God, but it was kind of like eye-opening. A good, I think it was really good for our family. It helped us to depend on one another, and we made friends where we were living, and we reached out, and I don't know, if you get a word from God to uproot your life and move, don't hesitate. God is only for your good. He knows what is best. He works it all out. Sometimes stepping out in faith is very frightening, but like that story just said, there is a great blessing at the end of it. And like the journey along the way is exciting. So I encourage you to comment below if you have any prayer requests. I would enjoy to pray for you guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And
God bless.
Mr. Mullins says, God bless, and so do I. Have a good evening.